Hello friends, my name is Emily Ann and welcome to Sasser House. We just got back after being out on the road for 5 days and I have a feeling that the garden is going to be full of lots of goodies for us. So we're going to get out here and see what we've got to harvest. So I'm going to start like usual down our zucchini row, and it looks like our zucchinis are about done for the summer. This one right here is done for sure. This one has got a zucchini on it. I'll show you right here. And it also has some blooms left on it. I think I want to let that get just a little bit bigger before we harvest it. So we'll harvest that this week. These right here look like they are done. And that's okay. Well, actually, as I say that, there's a couple zucchini still growing right there. And over here is one. So those are pretty small. We're going to let those go a couple more days and see how they turn out. We'll definitely be coming out here this week and pulling up some of these because I'm also going to plant for a fall harvest. So we might plant some more zucchini. I don't know. We put up a lot of zucchini into our freezer just a couple weeks back. I'll link that video up here. So the zucchini has been plentiful, and right here I see a massive zucchini. Ooh, and a bug. Now, I personally don't love it when they get this huge, but we can still make a lot of stuff out of a zucchini this big. And right down here, I see another huge zucchini. So we're gonna go ahead and harvest that one. If you're not, oh, we've got a lot of bugs. I'll have to look up and see what kind of bugs those are to make sure that they're not killing off our plants. But that's another zucchini. And these may still produce a little bit more fruit. Oh yeah, there's a few right there. Those will definitely grow, and we'll get a couple more zucchini out of these. This obviously bit the dust, so we'll get that out. Down here, we've got some of our green striped cushaw squashes, and these are growing like crazy. These are going to be beautiful to decorate with in the fall, but they're also going to be wonderful to eat. People absolutely love the flavor of these, and we have got quite a bit growing right here. And you're supposed to let these grow until the plants completely die back and the stem turns woody. So these have quite a ways to go because these leaves, you can see some wear and tear on them. They're starting to die back, but they're definitely not done. As we continue down the row, we have some more green striped cushaw squash plants. And then we have got our first butternut squash, y'all. I am so excited to finally see this growing because I didn't know if I would get any butternut squash this year. So this is the first one that this plant has put on, and it looks absolutely beautiful. So hopefully that will continue to grow. Right here, I don't know if this is a pumpkin or if this is another butternut squash. Come look right here. I don't know what that is growing right there, but that's the first that I've seen of it. So as we go further down this row, we get into our pumpkins. You know what? I think that these might be some more either butternut squashes back here.
Yeah, that's butternut squash.
You think that's what that is?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that's
so
what
we've
that
got
is.
two right there. Those have taken a long time to actually put fruit out. We planted all of this right around the same time. Now, we planted our pumpkins this year way too early. You're supposed to start pumpkins at the beginning of July. We planted our pumpkins in the spring, so we learned a lesson there. These are putting on all kinds of pumpkins, and as you can see right here, some of these plants are starting to die back. So that's very interesting. We'll have to kind of trace them to see which plants are dying back, because that definitely means that it's time to harvest the pumpkin. And majority of the pumpkins that we planted are all edible. So that'll be really fun to get to cook those up. I think that's all we've got for our pumpkin row, but we have got zinnias blooming like crazy. These look so good, and I'm not able to get out here and water them. So these are just growing and getting watered by the rain, which is absolutely incredible. I got a mixed color variety packet from the Home Depot of zinnias and sowed the seeds, and they have grown beautifully. So I might harvest some of these. We have company coming in tomorrow. It might be nice to make a little bouquet for our guest bedroom for them. Okay, we'll wait till the end and we'll come back to those and do those last. I don't want them to get crushed by all of our veggies. Now down our zinnia row, we get to our cucumbers, and I can see a ton of cucumbers that are ready and some that unfortunately look like they might have rotted. This one is pretty squishy, so I don't know. I'll have to look that up and see if I can use this end of it, see if any of it is salvageable. But I'm gonna go ahead and harvest some of these. We've got quite a bit of cucumbers in the fridge. I'm gonna let that one grow a little bit bigger, but right here we've got one.
One there.
We've got some cucumbers in the fridge, and I know this week we're gonna have to have a pickling day. You see another one?
There's another here.
Let me come down this way. Now, if you look at just the foliage on these cucumber plants, they don't look like they're doing that well, but they have definitely put on a lot of fruit since we left town. So that's really good to see, but I definitely want to sow some more cucumber seeds. We have some still left from our packet that we planted for this first round. And I have heard that mid-July is the perfect time to grow cucumbers here in our zone 7B. We live in Middle Tennessee, and they say that a lot of times these plants right about now will start to die off, which is what we're kind of seeing here. Because they just can't stand the heat. And they do wonderful if you plant them in mid-July and then let them grow into the fall. They have definitely put on good fruit for us, so that's exciting. We're gonna continue down this line. So we have got a lot of ripe tomatoes to harvest. Now, if you've been following along, you know that I don't like to let my tomatoes get this ripe on the vine. I like to let them fully ripen inside. That one saw better days. But we have been out on the road for the past 5 days, and we weren't able to be out here in the garden. That one's going to the birds as well. So a lot of these have ripened a bunch on the vine, and usually I'm afraid of that because it can lead to your plants being more susceptible to rotting when you let them ripen fully on the vine. They'll ripen inside just beautifully, y'all, if you will harvest them when they're just turning kind of an orangey color. Like, you can even harvest them at that stage and they'll ripen inside. We've got quite a few that are rotten, but we also have a bunch that are just absolutely beautiful. But I was really afraid to leave the garden for all that time while we were out on the road because it is mid-July here in Middle Tennessee, and I was just afraid that our tomatoes would rot, honestly, but they have not really rotted. We have, like I said, a few that I've shown you that have rotted, but we have still got a bunch that are just absolutely beautiful. Now, we grew all of these from seed indoors this year. We didn't have any fancy grow lights or any fancy setup. We actually put these in a windowsill and grew them that way. And it is amazing to see all the fruit that we have gotten from, I think it was maybe a $3 or $4 seed packet from M.I. Gardner is where I got our Roma and Rutger tomatoes. We grew only plum tomatoes because we wanted to be able to can them. We don't do a lot of fresh eating with our tomatoes. And so I didn't want to get big slicing varieties, and we actually didn't grow any slicing varieties just because we wanted to be able to can them. This is by far the biggest tomato harvest we have had. Before this video is over, we'll take you inside and show you all the tomatoes that we've got inside as well. We haven't been able to show you every tomato harvest this season, but man, this is definitely our biggest one yet. I think I'm gonna leave that one for the birds. It's pretty squishy on the bottom.
Probably the deer.
Yes. The other night, Chris and I were sitting on our new back patio that Chris just remodeled. It's absolutely beautiful. We'll have to link the videos so that y'all can check that out if you like DIY renovations, and especially renovations on a budget. But we were sitting out enjoying our first meal on the back patio, And all of a sudden, Chris got real still and pointed behind me, and there were, was it 2 deer or 3 baby deer?
It was a mom and 2 or 3 babies.
2 or 3 babies. Yeah. And they stopped right at the edge of our garden fence, and they were eating those tomatoes that I had thrown over the fence.
Oh, look at that watermelon.
Oh my goodness. I think that's going to be ready to harvest this week.
Maybe.
That
close.
Looks incredible. Okay, so we have got a big old vine down here filled with tomatoes, but unfortunately, this vine has fallen. I don't know if it's come untied or what, but these have definitely rotted.
They've been eaten, maybe.
Or been eaten, but they have been laying on the ground down here. That's why it's so important to get your tomatoes up off the ground. And next year, we're gonna know to do that before they start growing. We tried 2 different trellising methods this year, and we did the Florida weave method that a lot of people use and love, and we thought that that would be a great one, and it did not work for us at all. And so now we are just gonna continue using these stakes and using twine and tying the tomatoes up. Probably throwing too many out there. We're gonna have a whole slew of deer eating supper over there. Look at this beautiful one just ripened right there on the vine. That color is just gorgeous. I'm so excited to finally be able to can tomatoes, and that video will be coming here really soon. That is so beautiful. Look at that. We started that as a seed. That is just insane to me. I'm gonna come around here to this other side. See if we've got any more. This one definitely, this plant didn't get enough calcium. All of those are really struggling with blossom end rot, which either comes from not enough calcium or, that either comes with not enough calcium to the plant or too much rain. And we have not had too much rain for sure.
I see maybe one more on that plant that looks pretty ripe where the T-post is.
You're right. Oh my goodness, baby. I'm so glad I came down here. Those are completely covered up.
A few of them.
Look, there's one more. Good eyes. Okay. Look at that one, how beautiful. I need to start looking harder. Those were ripe and ready for the picking. Okay. So we're just going to continue down this row, and we'll meet up with you when we get to the end and show you all that we got off of this row. All right, this is our tomato harvest from tonight only. Y'all, this basket, I can hardly lift it. It's like it's gonna break. We moved all of our zucchini and cucumbers into this basket, and I think this might be the first harvest of the season where we have to use 3 baskets. So we're losing light. We need to get out here and get anything else that is ready to be harvested. And I know that probably top priority are our peppers. We have got a bag full of peppers in our fridge. The peppers have done so well this season, and we grew these from seed as well, and they're just doing amazing, y'all. It's so encouraging, and I hope that it's encouraging to you if you want to start gardening but don't want to spend $1 million to do it.
You dropped one.
Oh,
sorry.
Thank you. If you want to start gardening and don't want to spend $1 million to do it, it's definitely possible. Now, one thing that we did learn this year is some of our peppers are quite a bit smaller from the ones that you would probably buy at the grocery store. And there are different varieties. There's mammoth varieties of jalapeno peppers. There's all different kinds of varieties out there. Ours don't get huge and massive, but also we have not fertilized these plants at all, which is something that we'll implement next year to see if it makes a difference. But we're still getting a lot of fruit. Now this is some of our Santa Fe Grande peppers. We have harvested so many of these. This plant is absolutely filled. I'm gonna get some of the big ones off and then I'm gonna leave these on here because what we wanna do is let some of these turn red. So you can harvest them when they're this pale yellow color, but you can also leave them on until they turn red. This is the first one that we've harvested that's red, and I wanna see if the flavor is different. So we'll definitely do a taste test on those when we're in the kitchen. So be sure to subscribe. If you like gardening and cooking videos, we have got plenty more to come, and that is what we're all about here on the Sasser House. So if you like what you see, be sure to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss any of our uploads. I'm gonna get just a few of these harvested, but then I'm gonna leave majority of this fruit on to turn red. Man, those are just absolutely filled with peppers. Let's come down here. So these are our poblano peppers. Is there any big ones?
Is that one ready?
That one may be ready. They're not as big.
Oh, it just fell.
Okay,
Sorry.
so let's say that one's ready. They're not as big as what I thought they would be. These are our Anaheim green chili peppers. I absolutely love, oh, I pulled too hard. I love cooking with these, and I know that I'll grow more of them next season. They've got like the perfect amount of spice. And what I plan to do with a bunch of these peppers that we don't use in salsas that we can up is I'll just chop a bunch of them up in good portion sizes that I would use if I'm making chili or any type of soup or queso or whatever I would be using a can of peppers for that I would have gotten at the grocery store. I'm gonna go ahead and dice them up and have them, look how big that is, have them in our freezer, and then we can just pull them out whenever we need them all winter long. We're gonna continue down the line. We're getting to our habanero bush, and some of these are just about ready. See, that one's not completely turned yet. We'll go ahead and take it in. But the plants are filled with fruit. They're just not ripe yet. These have taken quite a long time to fully ripen, and we've just been able to pick them a little bit as we've gone. Just let that one compost in place. Here's one that is fully ripe. So we will have a lot of habanero peppers on our hands whenever all of these ripen. Here's two more that are ready. Now we get down to our cayenne peppers. This poor plant, I think, split either when we put the stake in, but there was still quite a bit of fruit on it, and these are continuing to ripen. So we'll just leave it there and let it do its thing. Now, some of our peppers we learned this year also need some support. You can see this one is lying down on its side. And so next year we'll be better prepared for that. But we're gonna continue down this row. As you can see, we have got a lot of cayenne peppers to harvest. One thing that I think I might try to do with some of these really hot peppers that we don't just cook with in like everyday dishes because they're so hot, since we have so many of them, I might try my hand at making homemade hot sauce. And that would be a wonderful gift to be able to give to family members at Christmas, or just have ready to go on the shelf whenever we want hot sauce. We've got quite a bit of those. You saw our watermelon row back when we were harvesting our tomatoes. That will be a video that will be coming probably this week because I think it will be time to start harvesting some of these watermelons, and we are gonna be eating more watermelon than we know what to do with. I don't think there's really a way to preserve watermelon, so we'll just be eating a lot of watermelon. Look at this. We planted a bunch of this year, and it'll be a good test to see if we end up eating this much and we want to grow this much next year. Look at all these. Oh my goodness. We have got so much watermelon growing. So that'll be a video that'll be coming up. My dahlias are finally blooming, y'all, and they're absolutely beautiful. I think this one has probably, it's already starting to fade, but there's some more buds on here, and we are getting some rain this week. So those should bloom and be absolutely beautiful. I think the last thing we're gonna be able to harvest tonight before the sun goes down is our okra, and we have got a lot of okra to harvest. These definitely got pretty massive, but we have not been home to harvest anything out of the garden. I want to grow some more okra and I'm planning on doing some more seeds when we do our second succession of planting for what we want to grow into the fall. One thing I have been doing with my okra is I have been going ahead and cutting it up when I harvest it, and then I'm just putting it in a freezer bag in my freezer, and whenever I am ready to make a big batch of fried okra, I already have it all chopped up in my freezer, and I've got my flour and cornmeal and everything that I would normally kind of toss it in to fry it. I've got that in that freezer bag as well, so it'll be fully coated and ready to fry up to eat. That's the only thing that I've noticed with these okra plants is they don't produce a lot at one time. Also, this never got weeded when we did our last big weeding, and the weeds have absolutely overtaken. So that's another big project that we've got to get to this week. So the last thing that we would need to check out are our green beans, but I'm afraid it is too late tonight. You know, while we're out here, we're gonna go ahead and do it. We're gonna go down this line, get all the green beans we can, and we will meet you back inside and show you what we got. So it's the next morning and we're out back in the garden because we weren't able to harvest our flowers for our little bouquet for our guests that are coming in today. So I'm doing just a little wiggle test on these zinnias and see how when you wiggle the stem, the actual flower itself isn't flopping all around. See this one, the flower flops all around. That means that one's not ready to harvest, but this one down here is ready. So I'm gonna come down and I'm just going to pull the leaves off and leave those right out here in the garden to compost in place and add our flour to our little mason jar. So I'll go through and test some of these and see what all's ready to harvest. It absolutely amazes me how beautiful these look, especially considering the fact that they haven't been properly watered. That's something that I know I want to do better next year with my zinnias that I grow. I think I want to put them at the front of the garden and maybe even do them in our raised beds next year instead of at the back of the garden the way I did this year. But I was learning, and I definitely have learned quite a bit from doing it this way. I know that I don't want our flowers here at the back of the garden where we can't get a hose to water them. And the good thing is with cut flower varieties like these zinnias, when you cut them, they just put on more and more blooms. It's too wobbly. All these seem a little young, yeah, to harvest. These are absolutely beautiful. So pretty. Let's get just a couple more. Next year, I definitely want to grow more varieties of flowers so that I can make mixed bouquets. I've got our dahlias growing down there, and then we do have some sunflowers growing over here. But this was my first year attempting to grow any flowers at all. And so I'd say that it was still a win for it being my first time. And honestly, these were kind of an afterthought. I haven't put a whole lot of time and care into taking care of these. So next year, if I'm more intentional, I think that we'll have even better success with what we grow. I think that is a absolutely gorgeous little welcome bouquet for our guests that are arriving today. Now, if you remember the video where we planted these flowers, you might remember that these plants down here were seeds from In My Gardener, and I spent more money on these, and I'm not impressed with how they turned out. I don't know if they just need more water or what they need, but none of them look as good as these do. This is from Burpee Seeds, and I looked at it last night. It's the Oklahoma mixed color variety. And you can see that they're just looking so much better. They're thriving. They seem to do a whole lot better on their own than these from In My Gardener. And these were a more expensive seed packet. So that's good to know for next year. So right up here, we have our row of dahlias. These tubers for these dahlias were actually gifted to me by a sweet friend who has a flower farm in Indiana. And her flower farm is called the Barn at Helm, and it is just stunning. It's absolutely beautiful. I did a concert for her about 2 years ago, and she sent me these in the mail when she saw that I was doing a backyard garden this year. And this right here is our first gorgeous bloom on this beautiful dahlia plant. So I don't want to cut it because it's so beautiful. I just want to enjoy it out here in the garden. But it's been really neat being able to grow these as well. I think I have a lot to learn when it comes to these dahlias, but it's been really cool to watch them grow. And I'm really excited now that it's mid-July and we're about to start planting for the fall. I've got a lot of space. I've got this whole row, and then in between some of these dahlias, you can see we had some blank spaces. Like there's a whole empty spot where the plants didn't pop up. I planted the tubers, but for whatever reason, they did not come up through the ground. And so we have a couple more dahlia plants right down here. We've got 4, but we have this whole empty space. And then further down this row, we've got a bunch of empty space. So it's gonna be really fun to get to come out here in the garden and figure out what we wanna do next. Our watermelons definitely took up a ton of room, but I think for the most part, they're done vining out. Now they're just focusing on growing this huge fruit that they've put on. So we will definitely have a video up here really soon where we are planting out this garden again in mid-July for a fall harvest. And that's gonna be really, really fun. I'm so excited to get to do that. And we'll get to go through some of our zucchini plants that have basically said I'm done for the summer and get those out of the garden and decide what we wanna do over in that area too. So it's a really exciting time when you plant in successions because you're able to harvest and plant new stuff all at the same time. So I'm really excited for that. Okay, friends, this is the most massive harvest we have had all summer long. I'm absolutely blown away. We went inside and got some of the tomatoes that had been wrapping up on our kitchen table and topped off this bottom basket, but we have 2 baskets absolutely filled with tomatoes, and I have some in my freezer that we harvested even earlier on. And so we have got a huge tomato canning day. I know that we want to do like marinara sauce, and I know we want to do salsas, which is good because this basket is filled with peppers. Absolutely filled to the brim with peppers, y'all. We have got so many peppers to use up. I know that we can't use all of these in salsas, so we're gonna have to come up with different ways to use those. I might make like a hot pepper jelly too. I need to look through my canning cookbooks and make a plan. That's what's next to do on the to-do list. We have got a whole basket down here of cucumbers, and so I know that I want to be canning up some cucumbers. And we've harvested even more cucumbers than this because I sent my sister home with a few, and I've been eating some fresh just because I enjoy them. And last but not least, we have this beautiful basket with some of our zucchinis, some of our beautiful little ornamental pumpkins that we've harvested. And there's even more of these out in the garden. We're just letting them keep growing. We've got our okra, and we've got a good bunch of green beans down in here as well. So this is really overwhelming. This is something that we have definitely prayed for. It's something that we've worked towards, and God is so good and so faithful to provide all of this for us to be able to eat and then also share with our friends and family. We love y'all so much, and we are so thankful that you spend some of your time with us here at the Sasser house. We hope that you'll consider subscribing if you like what you see, because we have got so many more cooking and gardening videos coming your way here really soon. We hope y'all have a blessed day, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, y'all.